Hey, Perry Creek, I'm Pastor John,
And I'm Kelley.
and we're here to talk to you about our upcoming day of prayer. Now, if you got your email yesterday, you know the focus of our prayer time, the thing that we're praying about, and it is a place for us to meet. It's about 400 yards down the road from Riverbend Elementary School, and it is the place where our church first met.
Yeah, it's a really, really beautiful property. And we are praying now for a 7 day a week space, not just a couple of hours a week where we can meet for church, but a place where we can really love and serve the community. And, we were planning this day of prayer before this opportunity came up. But now we're seeing that maybe this is a bit of a coincidence, maybe this is a bit of a God thing. So this has rapidly become the focus of our day of prayer. Now, let me tell you, there is a ton of information to absorb about this process. And so that's why we kind of wanted to give it to you in bite-sized chunks. So tonight, we're here to talk to you about a few more of the details. So this is chapter 2, or bite-sized chunk number 2.
So today we just want to talk about a couple of things. The first is why we're excited about this opportunity, why we think it might be a God thing. And the second thing is why we have a sense of urgency about this opportunity. So if you're talking to people or reading things and it seems like it's moving really fast, that's because it is. All right. So we want to talk about why that is. All right. So let's just start by talking about why we're excited about this opportunity. And, to begin with, we're excited because of our history with this property. Our history with this place is this crazy story. And maybe you've heard it before, but it bears repeating. So let me just tell you, about 2 days after I finished my last ministry assignment, we were wondering what we were going to do, and I get this email from Mark Maynard, who I barely knew. And Mark says, I can't explain this, but whatever it is that God's called you to do from here, I feel like I'm supposed to help you with it. And then Mark said, oh, by the way, if you want to plant a church, I've been on Craigslist and I found a building at 6870 Perry Creek Road, So now here's the thing. We do not want to plant a church.
No.
So, when Mark said that, we're like, right, we'll get back to you. And we really did not think about the property again.
But over the next 3 months, as we prayed and as we sought the Lord and as we met together with people that would become our lead team and people that would become the core of our church, we had some amazing and some powerful prayer meetings. And so we began to sense that maybe God was moving in our heart and maybe He was calling us to plant a church, but we needed to be sure. So we decided that we were going to go on a 3-day fast. We just set aside everything. We read through the book of Acts together and we prayed together intensely and fervently to hear from the Lord, to ask Him, is this your will for us? Well, at the end of the 3 days, nothing had really happened. We didn't really have a clear answer, and so we were a little bit confused, but we decided that we were going to go over to a friend's house, Chris and Sherry Helminiak, and we were going to eat dinner with them to break our fast and to just celebrate.
So this is like the last hour of the fast.
This is the last hour. So we were driving down the road and I start to get really sick. I start to feel like I'm going to pass out. I'm seeing spots and I tell John, you have to pull the car over right now. Like I have to get something to eat or I'm really going to pass out. So he pulls the car over and I start eating and we look up and John says, hey, we're on Perry Creek Road. Isn't that the place that Mark said there was a building if we wanted to plant a church? So we get out our phones and we call Mark and Jessica and we say, hey, what was the address of that place? And they tell us 6870 Perry Creek Road. And we look up and our car is parked right across the street from 6870 Perry Creek Road. So we're literally right outside of the building. So we get out and we walk up to it.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I am not like a visionary person at all. I mean, I'm not. And, but I walk up to that building. And when I walked up to that door, I could just see the families coming in. I mean, I could really see it. So then we were allowed inside. We looked around and we're like, this is an amazing place. We come out, we drive around the area, and we realize there's not a church. and this is a rapidly growing area. And that was the moment when I knew. I was like, we're going to plant a church. It was when I saw that building. So it's very special to me, right? And our church met there for, I think, about 3 months or so. Then they sold the building. And we had to find a new place to meet, which was great, but we had to find a new place. And, we sort of thought, okay, our chapter with 6870 Perry Creek Road is over. But it might not be over, because Kelley started praying.
We love this area. We feel like we have served there. We feel like we're just starting to get to know people, and they're really starting to trust us, and we love the area so much. And our heart's desire would be to stay there. So one day we were driving by, I think we were probably going to Riverbend to pick up our signs or something because of COVID. And I asked John, I said, if you could have any place for our church to meet, where would it be? What would it look like? And he said, it would be our old building. And I said, okay, I think I'm going to start praying for that.
Actually, it's more like, John, I'm going to start praying for that building.
So I did.
And here's the deal. I told her, honey, God's not that big. I really did. I was like, because I'm going, this is like an $8 million building. I'm like, sweetie, you go ahead and pray, but we're not going to get that building.
But I kept praying, and I was asking God specifically to bless that company so much that they outgrew the space and they had to leave. Or that, God closed that business and they had to leave. The choice was his, but whatever, that space would become vacant and that we would be able to be there. We had seen some other places that we might be able to rent, but nothing had captured our hearts like the Perry Creek neighborhood. And so, that's what we're praying.
Yeah, so we're praying, and we've decided, we had this prayer meeting as a lead team where we prayed for a long time, and we're like, we are looking for 7-day-a-week space. And then Kelley gets a text.
Yeah, so like the next day after that meeting, I get a text from Mark Mayland.
Beware Mark Mayland.
And he says, are you ready to have your mind blown? 6870 Perry Creek Road is up for lease.
So we're excited about this opportunity because of the sort of history that we have with this building. It could be a God thing, right? The vision that God gave me for that piece of property, maybe it's not done yet. So we also really get excited when we think about some of the possibilities for ministry there.
When I think about that space, I just see an amazing place for our church to gather and for our church to grow. There's room for growth. I look at those rooms and I see a beautiful children's ministry. I look at some of the bigger spaces and I think, what a great place for our youth to meet. I think about, maybe Sunday school classes and small group meetings and ladies' meetings and Bible studies and all those things. But I don't just see a comfortable place for our church. I see an amazing place for our community. I look around us and I see the needs of our community and I think, what if we hosted ESL classes here? What if we served the community by helping with after-school care for children? What if we had weekly church suppers or cookouts or things like that? I mean, you just begin to imagine the possibilities, and I get so excited.
Yeah, I think of other stuff like grief share classes or maybe, financial classes for people. I think about the opportunity for us to have maybe basketball camps in the gym and just things like that, just a place for the community to be brought together. So listen, that's why we're excited. Now, maybe that floats your boat, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe as you listen to that, you're just thinking to yourself, I don't know, I've got some big questions about finances especially, but maybe other things. That is absolutely okay. We're great with the tough questions. We need the tough questions as we pray and as we think about this, okay? So the building that we really want is the building that God wants to provide for us, right? But there's lots to get excited about with this, a lot of good things that can happen.
We have really been specifically praying that God would answer our prayers in a way that we know it's from Him. We don't just want this because we want it.
Yeah.
We want it if it is from Him. So that's what we've been praying. And, we're going through some obstacles as we experience this process, but we want to know it is from the Lord. So we want to pray for God's will. We want to pray for our relationship with the building owners and with the brokers and with all the people that we come into contact with as we go throughout this process. We want God to bless this process. But, there's a sense of urgency about it. We need to pray because we may be way off in the finances. We need to pray because we don't know if the owners really want to have a church there. So there's a sense of urgency.
Yeah, so we need God to open hearts to make this thing happen. And guys, there's also a sense of urgency about getting our numbers together. So one of the things I've learned as we've gone through this, commercial real estate stuff can move very quickly. And so, we knew this was a possibility. When we went on this 7-day-a-week search, we figured it would either take the path of, slow, methodical, turn over every rock search, the kind that I like, or it would be like this opportunity that we had to evaluate and decide. And this is more of the latter, So we want to look at this. We need to get our numbers together. There are other churches that have inquired about the property. So tomorrow, we're just going to talk about numbers and how we get the information that we need. So, guys, there is a sense of urgency about this, but listen, there is no need to panic. No need to panic. We don't need to move any faster than God is moving on this property. He has to do it, right? Like I told Kelley when she started praying, we serve a really big God. No, but I mean, seriously, God can do this. He has to do it, or it's not going to happen.
And, it's been amazing because when COVID started, as I've thought about the last few months during COVID, and I've thought about how God has led our church and how He has grown us and how He's deepened us in some ways, and how God led John and our associate pastor, John Maiden, to put together the sermon series that we've gone through. So COVID started, and we started with Help for Hard Times, where we learned about God's love for His people and how He longs to help us when we're experiencing difficulty. And then after that, we moved to this series called Pivot, where we learned how God pivots the church and how sometimes He calls you to action. And for week after week after week, our pastors were telling us we need to be ready to pivot. We need to be ready to pivot. And then, at the end of the series, we didn't really feel an urgent call to pivot or anything like that. But we were wondering. And then we get to our current series where we lift our eyes upward and we start to just really enjoy the presence of God by learning about His attributes. And as we do that, this opportunity comes up, and it just feels like God was preparing us for this moment.
Yeah, so guys, here's the thing. We don't have to panic. We don't have to make some decision out of fear, and we want to explore whether this is what God has for us or not. God has already opened doors that I didn't think could be open. So we have to trust Him to provide, all right? And if He doesn't provide this space, in His timing and in His way, we don't want it. We want the space that He wants us to have, okay? So excitement, yes. Urgency, yes. Panic, no. No. So that's your second bite-sized chunk about this. Why we're excited and, why we feel a sense of urgency.
And you'll hear more about the numbers. If you're sitting here and you're saying, yeah, I'd like to get excited, but I need to know what the bottom line is, that is coming tomorrow.
So we'll see you tomorrow on another video. Actually, it'll be Joel Brown and I. And we'll see you Saturday at 5:30 at Open Door. Pray for sunshine.
That's right. So Saturday, 5:30, Open Door, outdoor worship. See you there.
See ya.